She was black, beautiful and talented, and sometimes just that bit temperamental. But during the early 70s, Leilani was the darling of the Australian turf.
She became a public horse. She really did become a public horse, and she was jet black, which they also liked, blacks and greys, and she was jet black, she was flighty, and but I think the important thing about her is she just had this massive will to win under all circumstances. There were times when Leilani was winning, and very impressively, that I was asked a question on numerous occasions, compare her with the Great Light Fingers. And I always used to say, well, one's chestnut and one's black. She was a true champion of her era.
But if the Liberal Party had won the 1972 federal election, Leilani might never have seen a racecourse, let alone become a champion.
We lost the elections in 1972. I ceased to be a minister, and I was wanting to get out of the country for a while. So I, with the Rices and with Susan, we went to New Zealand for a holiday, and I stayed with very old friends, Tom and Gay Williams, who have the Tapare stud at Masterton in New Zealand. And they had Oncidium standing still then. They'd had Agricola. It was a very famous stud, still is. And on many of our walks and drives around in the property nearby, I noticed this small, dainty black filly, and asked Tom about it. He said it was owned by an old fellow named Ian McRae, who was a decent bloke, and I just liked the look of her. And I went to Mr. McRae, asked would he sell her to me, and he said no. And what most people don't know is that he then said to me that her dam had been so successful, she won about 16 races. Lay was her name. She was, as I recall, by summertime out of a mare called Sun-Kissed Flower, that he thought he would breed from Leilani and not race her. And I tried to buy her, and I went back another day and he wouldn't be in it. I knew Bart had his caravan tour going through New Zealand, so I rang him, caught up with him somewhere out of Auckland, and asked him would he divert off and come to us and have a look at not only fillies at Tom Williams' stud, but come down and have a look at this filly. He did. He wanted to buy her straight away. We negotiated and negotiated. We couldn't, but in the end, dear old Ian McRae agreed to lease her to me, and because I had Ian Rice on a holiday with me, I brought him in on it.
Leilani was unraced as a 2-year-old, but made rapid progress at 3 to win the AJC Oaks with Higgins aboard. Cummings then set her for the Caulfield Cup. In the spring, Higgins won the Turnbull Stakes on the mare, but couldn't make her Caulfield Cup weight. Mick Malyon could.
Roy Higgins apparently was talking to him, and he said, well, if he could ride the weight, that's the horse that he'd be riding in the Cup. So with that, I said, well, if it's bloody good enough for Roy Higgins, it's got to be good enough for Mickey Malyon. So
600 to go. Dandy Gem a length in front of Monolect. In the centre there is, on the inside, rather Special Boy. Over on the outside of it, Marinoto, and the Arama's dropped out. It's 1,000,000 to 1. Leilani going very well, looking for a rails run, and Martindale running on. Into the straight they race now, and the leader Dandy Gem, but Leilani's got out with Special Boy and coming at the leader. Leilani dashed to the lead. Bellotta's the danger out wide from Special Boy and Monolect. Leilani in front, Bellotta trying hard, but Leilani stretching right out like a real cup horse. And Leilani striding away. Here's the Caulfield Cup favourite. Leilani goes on to win by 3 lengths to Bellotta.
I didn't know how much ability she had before the Toorak. I was only going on what Roy had spoken of. But after I rode her in the Toorak, it just went into the Cup as far as I was concerned as unbeatable. That's barring any unforeseen happening, you know.
Malyon wasn't the only one who thought she could win.
Unbeatable. That's how it turned out.
Racing this time.
She jumped and began well, and I made my way across to the inside, never stopped going forward, and took up a lovely position. And she was always in a forward position, probably in the first half dozen all the way. Really, one of them rides to be dreaming of.
Judge in the Cup. 1.5 lengths to go, fun. Leilani third on the fence. Ahead away, Gay Icarus. And with 700 to go, Leilani's been taken to the lead. A neck in front of Asgard. 1 to Gay Icarus getting through on the fence. 1 length to Igloo. Arama's struggling. Then Lord Metric, followed by Broadway Hit, running on from Pilfer Turf Cutter. Behind them, Go Fun, beaten from Grand Scale, Princess Eulogy, and Like a Lover's Last. Gay Icarus and Leilani sprinted away at the 500. They're 6 lengths in front of Igloo, with Turf Cutter running on from Lord Metric and Broadway Hit. Leilani has dashed clear as they straighten for home. Malyon riding for dear life, and Leilani's run 3 lengths in front of Gay Icarus. 4 lengths away, Turf Cutter, Igloo, Broadway hit Pilfer, but with 150 to go, Leilani 3 lengths in front. Gay Icarus is weakening, and then Turf Cutter, but it's Leilani's Caulfield Cup. The Bonnie Mare's going to win by 4 lengths. Broadway hit flashing up for second, Turf Cutter third, ahead away Gay Icarus fourth. Then 3 lengths.
Malyon was suspended after the Cup, and with Higgins also on the sidelines, the brilliant Peter Cook was substituted. Leilani and Cook combined to win the McKinnon Stakes 3 days prior to the Melbourne Cup. However, the 3-kilogram penalty she had received following her easy Caulfield Cup win was a worry.
I didn't say much because I thought it wouldn't help, and as a public figure people seem to interpret your statements in various ways, but privately I anguished. She would have had to have set a weight-carrying record. It was at least 2.5 kilos more than Light Fingers had carried when she won the Cup. And as I recall, I may be wrong in this, but as I recall, had she won it, she'd have had to have carried more weight than any other filly or mare since Wakeful. And she certainly had the task ahead of us, and she gave it, as she did in everything, a very great shape.
Leilani is looking for a run between them, will need it. And here comes Captain Perry down the outside, and Turf Cutter. Turf Cutter is mowing grass. Battle Heights went to the front of the 200-metre mark from Leilani. Captain Perry on the outside then is Turf Cutter and Thing Big. Leilani is getting to Battle Heights, and on the outside Captain Perry. Leilani just in front. Thing Big is picking it up down the outside, and Thing Big has got to win the Cup. Thing Big has won. Leilani is second.
The two that unquestionably stand out, the pluck and just sheer determination she showed in the Melbourne Cup. And that's only overridden, and I'm glad it is because it was a disappointing result, by her performance only a few days later in the Queen's Cup on the Saturday, when she stood outside a Gala Red up. I think he had more than 10 kilos advantage over her. It was certainly a significant advantage. And he went to a 25-length lead, and she took the field up to him and then just motored past in the straight and went home with Roy riding her their knees down. And that, for a moment, swept away the disappointment of Cup Day.
But Leilani asked for the effort at the 300. It's Gala Red about 3 in front, but Leilani's got it covered. 10 lengths away then, Battle Heights, Fort Hagen and Grand Scale. Leilani's race to the lead. Gala Red in second placing, and then Battle Heights, Fort Hagen. But Leilani's going to coast to victory about 4 lengths to Gala Red. Battle Heights ran third, ahead away then Fort Hagen. 6 lengths to Lord Metric. It was followed then by Grand Scale.
Leilani's outstanding spring form attracted an offer to race against Europe's best in the King George and Queen Elizabeth Stakes.
It would have been the opportunity to race against Ale France and Dahlia, the great mares of North America and Europe, and that wasn't to be, so we could never test her on the international scene. I often think that were she racing today, I don't think there'd be much hesitation picking up the offer.
Leilani returned in the autumn of '75 to win 3 successive weight-for-age races.
A length to my friend Paul, and on the inside of it, Minasta. All shot stretching out, but Leilani's got a break. All shot starting to run home hard, but Leilani 2 in front. All shots flying in the last little bit. Leilani in front, however, and she's too good. Leilani's won at 3/4 of a length to All Shot.
Even though the brave little mare was winning, her jockey, Higgins, was worried.
Each time I'd come back after the race and say, Bart, I don't know what it is, but there is something missing. I said that real ping is just not there. It's there's some little thing, whether or not it's you know, she's not coming up this preparation. And when we start talking about champion, I'm talking about that's just after winning. I said, I just doubt whether she's back to what she used to be at this particular point. And he said, oh, well, you know, we'll just keep pushing ahead. And come the Australian Cup after what I thought was an unimpressive win at weight for age prior to the Australian Cup, and then she was to come into that race with a pretty hefty weight on her back under handicap conditions. I must say I doubted her chance of winning that particular race. And when you put the result back down, yes, it was courage. That was courage that won the race.
Leilani's win in the Australian Cup was the high watermark of her career. She missed the spring of her 5-year-old season, but returned to win the St George Stakes the following autumn in 1976. She was then set for the Tancred Cup in Sydney. A win here would see her become Australia's greatest stakes-earning racehorse ever. However, it wasn't glory that lay ahead for the great mare.
It wasn't until we travelled some 500-600 metres of the Tancred that I said, hello, this is not the girl I know. There was no drive, there was no push, and by the time we got round the back of the course, it was over. And I led her back into the mounting yard, and at the same time, there was Bart and Susan and Andrew. They came running down out of the grandstand and naturally press all round. And, well, there were times in my career that I got tears in my eyes, and that was one of them.
To see her, or with a near foreleg just hanging, I mean, my only thought was to try and grab Percy Sykes and get down to that mounting yard before anybody would do anything to her. Fortunately, Percy was about 3 feet ahead of me racing down there, and he gave her painkillers as fast as possible, and we knew her career was over. And losing the Melbourne Cup was one thing, but losing her in terms of a racing career was the worst moment of my racing life.
Leilani's last appearance on the racetrack was the only occasion the little mare failed to earn prize money. She recovered from her injury and later returned to her owner breeder in New Zealand. She died in Australia at Carrington Stud in the Hunter Valley in February 1989 after a somewhat disappointing breeding career.